So being more intentional in making the words good. I am going to change my strategy in how I edit my own writing. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. First, a little bit of background leading up to that. We've done 2 writing exercises so far, and we have each critiqued each other's and shared a little bit of those critiques with each other. And we've noticed that there are some differences in our focuses in our critiques.
Mm-hmm. And it's often very similar to the way when a writer hires a professional editor, there are often different levels of editing. So there's development level editing, there's line level editing, there's basic proofreading, just grammar and mechanics. And that's showing up, I think, in the differences in how we're critiquing each other.
Right. In my edits of my own writing, my strategy had been, okay, let's just read through and see what sticks out. And if anything sticks out, I will do what I can to adjust it. And that was also kind of the way that I was going about critiquing yours, is reading through what sticks out to me. And what ended up sticking out was different types of things for your writing than stuck out for me for my writing.
Yeah, so when I'm reading his, it's a lot of the line level things. Is this word really the word you were looking for? This phrase conveys this sound, or it's clumsy in the mouth. Or...
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of. I wasn't focused at all on making sure that I was smooth and not awkward in my phrasing and the word choice. And so there were a lot of times where it was like, this doesn't quite get across what you're trying to get across.
And then in your edits for me, you're focused on...
Right. My edits for you, a lot of what I was looking at was questions that your writing brought up that I didn't see an answer for.
Okay. And we can talk a little bit more about that. But back to that line level editing thing, I think in the focus that I have, that seems to be where my attention naturally goes. Spending years in the business world and writing and seeing miscommunication over where did the only go in this sentence and where did the not go in this sentence, focusing on that level of detail. How do the words communicate? I find myself, when I'm writing even my first draft, I'm struggling with, ooh, that's not quite the word I'm looking for. Let me go figure out the right word, or I got to rearrange this phrase here. And I have to consciously say, just get the thoughts out. Trust yourself to go do that line level editing in your next pass for your second draft.
And I think I hit the unhappy middle ground there, where in my first draft, I get hit with the same thing, like, I don't quite like this wording here. Let me adjust it. But then I also know that I need to keep on writing, so I only spend a little bit of time adjusting and fine-tuning. And in the second draft, when I come back, I'm like, oh, well, I already spent some time fixing that, so that's the best it's going to get. And I never get around to actually polishing it and making sure it's as clear as possible.
And I think the difference is, I think in our previous writing exercise, I ended up with like 4 different drafts before I finally said, okay, now I feel comfortable handing it off.
And I had done 2 drafts, and I wrote out my first draft. My second draft, I didn't really change a whole lot. I added some lines at the end because I didn't like my ending. And there were a couple of things that I adjusted that I knew from writing the first draft that I wanted to change. But I didn't really focus on all the details there.
I think because I had the time to do more drafts, that opened the door for some of the deeper critiques that you were describing.
Some of those kind of character level of, what's this person thinking here? Why do they do that?
And I think it's some of the critiques where you're saying, I really want to understand what's going on in the character's mind. To some degree, I think there may be value in leaving the question open to invite curiosity. So I want to understand what's going on here, but you didn't answer it in this scene. So there's going to have to be some level of establishing trust that it's going to come later. to make you want to keep reading. I hope there's an answer here.
And that's something that you can get on the book level, but just the scene, the door is left open and these questions are left unanswered.
Right. But those are some of the things that we're seeing, the different levels of editing that are available and that we're going to want to step into a little bit more on our own. But you said that you had something specific that you were going to change.
Right. So I really want to focus more on kind of like what you said, not editing as much during the first draft, and then focusing more intently as I'm going into the second draft on making sure that my words are saying what I want them to say, that I'm being smooth, I'm being clear, I'm not being awkward in my phrasing. And in the past, I've kind of just glossed over some things that I knew were a little bit of an issue, but in a couple seconds of thinking of it, I was like, well, I can't really think of a better way. So being more intentional in making the words good.
And we talked about a strategy to help develop that, and that is with our writing exercises. So far, sometimes we've been writing in world, sometimes we've been writing out of world. Just, it's an exercise, let me check the box, I got the exercise done. But we want to commit to, if the writing exercise is possible to do in world, then we want to write in world so that once we exchange our critiques, we're going to start doing one more edit that actually applies the things. I think in previous videos we've said, oh yeah, if I could just rearrange this, that would make that a whole lot more clear. And then at least for me, I didn't go back and actually change anything. So we're committing to making one more revision, and by writing in world, it's compelling for us to go back and do that one more revision.
And I think that'll help us exercise that muscle of, for me, making the words smooth, making it flow the way that it should flow. And then for you, figuring out what questions are worth answering here and what questions need to be left open. So our question for you is, what is your editing strategy? Do you have various passes where you focus on different things on each pass? Do you just look at what stands out to you? What have you found the most effective in your editing strategy? Let us know in the comments, and we will see you next week.